it's a ticking time bomb so long as Bangladesh views the issue in its short-term costs, which is economic strain, money being spent. But if Bangladesh views it from a long-term opportunity, I think that ticking time bomb becomes a golden boon in the way that it's been a boon for Turkey with regards to Syria. And you'll remember these discussions that Bangladesh is having.
Foreign affairs experts they believe that the Rohingya crisis is a ticking bomb and it could explode if it cannot be resolved. What is your comment on that?
I think that Ibn Khaldun says, oppression heralds the destruction of civilization. I think that's the correct maxim. If the situation stays as it is, it will be a ticking time bomb. And I think one of the concerns of countries that have taken in the Rohingya refugees is that an insurgency will take place, or that it will become like an armed conflict. Or in the case of, for example, Jordan didn't want to take in the Palestinian refugees after October 7th because they told Trump that the resistance, they'll just fire in from Jordan and Israel will invade Jordan as a result. And that's why I think that it's a ticking time bomb, and therefore the idea that you can just put it on the side or just shelve it, I think is even worse. And that's why I think that the way that Bangladesh should handle it, or even the Malaysians, although Bangladesh more so, is if you're able to convert what appears to be a crisis into an opportunity. And what I mean is rallying the international community against Myanmar by presenting an alternative amongst the Rohingya who are already amongst you, and investing in that 10, 15 year vision later down the line, where if a change happens in Myanmar, the most likely alternative will be amongst those Rohingya refugees who are here in Bangladesh. If they have a positive experience in Bangladesh, Bangladesh has an ally in Myanmar, and you can imagine the influence across the border now. You are the primary influence in that nation. For Bangladesh, genuinely, when you look at that border, when you look at the way they were drawn, how the resources were left with India while you're left with, any Bengali would want to see that take place. And that's why I think it's a ticking time bomb so long as Bangladesh views the issue in its short-term costs, which is economic strain, money being spent. But if Bangladesh views it from a long-term opportunity, I think that ticking time bomb becomes a golden boon in the way that it's been a boon for Turkey with regards to Syria. And you'll remember these discussions that Bangladesh is having. Go back to the press in Turkey in 2014, 2015. The language is identical. The arguments are identical. The issues of money, economy, jobs, why do they get free healthcare? It's identical. And Erdogan still pursued. Now when you ask a Turk, was it worth it? They'll tell you 100% it's worth it, because now they are the primary influence in Syria and the trade, and they get the benefits in this. And that's why I argue that it's a ticking time bomb if you view it short term, it's a golden opportunity if it's viewed long term.
So the last one is, you may have heard about the even idea about the integration of Rohingyas in Bangladesh mainstream, but which our government and people think suicidal for us. So they said the integration will actually divert the main goal or objective of repatriation.
I think that idea is being presented because of the absence of alternative ideas being presented by Bangladesh and by Malaysia and by the Muslim world. I think it is the absence of any clear vision over what the future of Rohingya should be from Dhaka and from Kuala Lumpur and from Ankara and these places that mean that the United Nations is ceding to Myanmar and ceding to their allies by making Bangladesh a country that they believe has no leverage, and bullying Bangladesh into taking in the Rohingya and giving them citizenship. Why do I say bully? Not because I don't think Rohingya are entitled, but because they want to use the citizenship. Arabs have a saying, حَقٌ أُرِيدَ بِهِ بَاطِلٌ. It's a good thing for the wrong reason. They want to use that citizenship to say they don't need to go back to Rakhine, they don't need to go back to Arakan. And that's why it's imperative on Bangladesh to come up with that alternative vision. And I think the way they do that is not by presenting an alternative plan for Rohingya in Myanmar. I think it's by going on the offensive. Take Myanmar to the ICC. Go and present that case there. Rally the whole world. Tell Myanmar that there will be a heavy price for you to pay because you're insisting on the world that we should pay it instead. There will be a heavy price for you, and mobilize Rohingya. My point is the best defense is offense. Go on the attack in that regard. And I think what Myanmar will do when faced with that, they'll eventually back down, and I think it's plausible they will accept repatriation in exchange for Bangladesh withdrawing the case from the ICC. I think the UN proposal is because of the absence of imagination from Dhaka and from the rest of the Muslim world with regards to the Rohingya. If there is a concentrated effort with regards to the Rohingya, then I think the UN will go with whichever plan is there. And I give you proof of this, just so people don't think I'm exaggerating this. In 1995, in Mostar, in Bosnia, the European Union did the same thing to Ali Izetbegovic in Bosnia, where they said, we have a plan that we want to implement. It was a sharing of the city between the Muslims and between the Christian Croats. The Croats absolutely refused to take the deal. When Izetbegovic went to the European Union and said, look, we agree, but they don't agree. European Union said, well, if the Croats don't agree, then I guess we just throw the idea out of the window. The United Nations doesn't have a hard opinion. It's reacting to who is manifesting the greatest power and influence. If Bangladesh pushes as proactively as Myanmar is doing, I think a different plan will be presented on the part of the United Nations. But I will say this, a point is worth stressing. It's that Bangladesh's advantage with the Rohingya is the Muslim and Islamic bond. It is a very powerful tool to use. Why? Because it allows you to summon powers like Erdogan, Turkey, who has very good relations with Donald Trump. It allows you to summon money from Doha and from some of these other Muslim nations. It allows you to summon the political goodwill of more than 2 billion Muslims around the world, and that can't be taken lightly, particularly given that if you mobilize that public opinion in the way it was mobilized for Gaza, you can cause a significant shift in the storytelling of the Rohingya. Having spoken to officials in Bangladesh and having come here to Dhaka, I believe, and I'm going to word this very carefully because I'm a guest and I'm not here to offend, I believe the issue is not that Bangladesh doesn't have the capacity to create leverage. At the moment, it lacks the imagination to create that necessary leverage. And I think this is a golden opportunity that Bengalis or people in Bangladesh need to be convinced that it is an opportunity, because everywhere I go, they keep calling it a crisis instead.